Well, everyone, welcome to Ingrid's World. Well, on this episode of Ingrid's World, we will welcome fashion attorney Mariessa Terrell. Mariessa founded Fashion Trademarks, a boutique fashion law firm located in Washington, D.C. In addition to practicing law, Mariessa has worked to brand D.C. as the fashion law capital. Together, we will interview two different businesses, and Mariessa Terrell will share her legal knowledge with each business. Well, first, let's talk with our Mariessa.
Yes, ma'am. Hello.
Well, okay, and Mariessa, you're now my co-host, loving it.
It's very exciting to be here.
Well, first, let's tell a little bit about you. What does a fashion attorney do?
Oh, many people ask me this question. Actually, it's really quite simple. Basically, we provide legal services to fashion designers, fashion entrepreneurs, basically creative folks in the fashion industry. And so it can run the gamut of from doing retail agreements to real estate, intellectual property. It can be non-disclosure agreements and contract work. It can also be doing manufacturing overseas and working out those details. So it's really, there's just so much. It could be publishing, it could be so many different things.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, how did you get involved in starting to do something like that?
Well, for me, my path was a bit of a zigzag. I, graduated, I'm a Washingtonian, I'm from DC, and I went to Howard Law School, which is a wonderful place to go to get the fundamentals. And then when I left there, I got a clerkship. I clerked for Judge Long in tax and probate. But I really was trying to figure out, how can I be around creative people? I'm a creative person myself. So basically, I was fortunate enough to get into the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office as an attorney there. And they have, about 200 plus attorneys working in various industries. I happened to be assigned to the office handling fashion, goods, cosmetics, and magazines, which was perfect. And so that's where I got my start.
Wow. So that's where you got your start, because it's really a big thing about trying to, it's fantastic when you have a lawyer. And when you talk about intellectual property, that's really very different. What does that encompass?
Well, intellectual property really is about protecting your creative ideas. And it's, trying to figure out what is important to you, what makes you unique, and then those things, and then trying to figure out what would be the best way to protect them. So in my business, in my firm, our specialty is doing trademarks and copyrights. We also do some patent work, and then we do contract work, protecting trade secrets with non-disclosure agreements.
Now that's very important. So I remember when we were, working on this segment, you said DC should be the fashion capital.
Oh, yeah.
Why do you say that?
Well, it's so interesting because I have spent some time in New York. I've spent some time, in LA, and each one of these cities is known for being fashionable to a certain extent. But when people think of Washington, they don't necessarily think of fashion.
No, they don't.
Sadly, think of what Robin Givhan often calls CNN Washington. It's like the political seat of power. However, in my travels through the city, I have begun to kind of picture our city, captured as a fashion law capital, because when you really think about it, all of the pieces are here. So we have the U.S. Copyright Office is here, so we can protect, in that way. We've got the Patent and Trademark Office here, so we can protect trademarks and patents, so we have that covered. We also have the Senate and the House. We know that the laws start there, and Senator Schumer out of New York, a senator there, was the one that kind of reinvigorated the legislation that was going to expand the copyright bill to include fashion. That's here. And then we have the lobbying groups. We have the Council of Fashion Designers of America's here, the Footwear Association. So, it's all here.
I didn't realize all of that.
Yes, so then it makes perfect sense then to think of our city not only as the seat of power, but the seat of fashion power, because this is kind of where it starts and it ends here.
And this is where it ends.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm glad you're here, because I think that now we're going to talk, you and I will talk with a couple of different businesses and find out, what they're doing, and then you'll give them some, some expertise.
Yes, this is my favorite thing to do. DC is full of fashion innovators, and in my practice area, I'm fortunate enough to be able to meet some of them and to talk to them, and to even sometimes interview them from articles that I write, with newspapers. So I'm excited Yeah, I'm excited to let's talk to some friends.
All right.
Bring them
out. So you've met Mariessa, so stay tuned. We're going to be bringing on our first person, Christopher Foyle, who is here, and he's going to be talking about what he does at Rain Magazine. Let's meet some of the fashion innovators that Mariessa has worked with over the years. Christopher Foyle is here, and he is presently serves as a senior associate editor at Rain Magazine, an international fashion style publication that celebrates the achievements of entrepreneurs in the creative industry. Well, welcome to the show, Christopher.
Hi, how are you doing? Very nice to be here.
You.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, first of all, let's talk a little bit about you.
Well, let's see. I currently work for Rain Magazine. We are an international publication, and we focus on creative entrepreneurs in fashion, culture, and technology. I am the senior editor of Rain Magazine.
I thought I said associate, so...
I have been the senior associate, but right now I am actually senior editor.
Wow.
Congratulations. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. It's a wonderful job. I get to do what I love to do every day, working with people in fashion, culture, entertainment. And it's really dynamic, and you really can't ask for anything better than that.
So how long have you been in the industry?
I have been in fashion now for well over a decade. I've done everything from in my 20s, I worked in fashion retail. I have been the men's editor for an editor here in DC. I have also worked as the social media developer for a brand in California, and now I am in publishing, and I've been doing this now for about maybe 2.5 years.
So, and I bet you have all types of things. Do you have celebrity sightings here too?
Well, I work with celebrities. I've worked with people like Nikki Hilton, who is Paris Hilton's sister.
Oh my goodness.
I've worked with the highest paid Bollywood actress in the world, Priyanka Chopra. She is also the spokesmodel, I believe right now, for Dr. Dre Beats, the earphones.
Yes.
And I believe she's also the first Indian spokesmodel for Guess Jeans. I've worked most recently with Diane Guerrero from Orange is the New Black.
Wow.
So there are a lot of people that I've worked with. My takeaway is that they're all just normal human beings. I've never really sort of dazzled by anyone. Just because I work so closely with them, you really get to see their human side.
So do you ever encounter any types of disputes or concerns that you have to deal with and manage?
Now, are you talking specifically about maybe with photographers?
Yes, for instance, for photographers.
Okay, so in publishing, we use release agreements. And basically with a release agreement, it really spells out and defines what the relationship is going to be and how we're going to use those images from the photographer, or how a talent's likeness will be seen in the magazine. Of course, we always give credit to all of the creative teams in the printed issue of each edition of the magazine as well. So we really don't encounter too many problems, simply because we spell everything out. You know what you're getting from the beginning.
So Mariessa, what's your take on that?
Well, that's exactly what you should do. So bravo, Chris, and Rain Magazine, that's exactly right, because really, in order to try to mitigate risk, we know disputes arise sometimes, miscommunication, usually not necessarily ill intent. So with that in mind, when they do arise, it's best to have an agreement in place before the services are rendered, right? And so when you're working with contractors, especially contractors who are creating creative works, authoring creative works, you want to definitely have a contract, because we know that anyone who creates a creative work, a photographer who takes a picture, a writer who writes copy, an illustrator that does an image, an animation or an illustration, that author owns that work. And so even if they say you can use it, if they haven't put it in writing, they still own it. And that means they can copy it, they can create a derivative work, they can do a lot of different things. So that's why the release agreement is important. You want to make sure that in your agreement that you say that this is a work for hire, you're working for me, and so I now own that copyright, and so then that would be Rain Magazine in this case, would then be able to manipulate the image, copy the image, post the image on the web or whatever the terms of their agreement stipulate.
So that needs to be in writing.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am.
What can happen if it's not?
If it's not, you're definitely gonna have a disgruntled contractor. And we know that in this day and age, it's hard to find good people, and you want to keep your staff happy, right? So that you don't want that. You don't want litigation. You don't even want arbitration. You don't even want to have in the media or have that artist in their social media talk bad about your magazine, which can happen. You don't want any, so in order to avoid all of that, it's best to just get it in writing so that everybody understands. And if it's something that the artist can't do, you'll find someone else. Simple as that. Simple as
very,
that.
very important. So Chris, what do you have for emerging designers and people who want to be just like you? What advice do you have for them?
Well, for someone that has a dream, someone that wants to be like me, because I live my dream, hard work. What I see in a lot of industries with young people, I'm almost in my 40s at this point, but I think people have this attitude that everything should be given to them, and that just is not the case. If you have a dream, you're going to have to work. And my father used to have a saying, and that is, no job is too menial. And really what that means is that if someone's asking you to write copy or edit copy, maybe you're not the senior editor right now, but put in the time, put in the hard work. Believe me, someone will notice you. And also have an opinion. Have an opinion. The one thing that I notice with young people all the time is that they have criticisms, but they can't back those criticisms up with facts, and I say that to our young interns that sit in on editorial meetings all the time. If there is a problem, if there's something that you don't like, have a reason as to why you don't like it, because at the end of the day, the editor-in-chief doesn't want to know you don't like the cover. Well, why don't you like the cover? I mean, is there something wrong with it? Is the color off? Have an opinion and be able to state the facts. Support it, exactly. And in terms of if you want to just talk about emerging designers, the best thing that emerging designers can do, I feel, in today's digital world is, especially to promote their brand, get on social media.
Okay.
Yes.
You know what? And I so agree with you.
Yes.
Young and old, because I had to do social media too.
Get on social media. I mean, because what we don't realize, is that you're actually putting yourself in a virtual room full of innovators, influencers. These are people that can help you get from A to B to C. And something else that I see with people on social media is that they really just want to hang out. You've got to be social. Social media. Connect with people. Have something to say. Something else that's really important with regards to social media is content is king.
Right. So content is king. And with that, we're going to wrap it up, because the reason is because now we're going to have to bring you back.
Well, thank you. I would love to come back.
You're wonderful, because you just got us all started, right, Marissa? You got to come back and give us the life and the world of the editor and what you do.
I would love to do that.
I want to know more about that. Coming up next, we'll be talking with Stephanie Green, fashion designer with Tommy Hilfiger, Family Dollar blogger, author, creator of fashion merchandising program at the University of the District of Columbia. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Well, hello, Stephanie. Great to have you here on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm really, really happy to be here.
Well, I'm just so glad that you're here because it's wonderful to be able to talk to a professional who's actually living the life of a fashion person. So how did you get started in fashion?
Let's see, to make a very long story short, I always loved drawing clothes when I was a little girl, and pretty much almost anything you could think of. Back then, I'm aging myself a little bit, but back then in the newspaper, you know, fashion was always illustrated. So I started drawing all the illustrations that I could find, mostly in the style section. And then as I grew up, I went to college. I majored in fashion design at Pratt Institute. And then pretty much since there, started designing in New York and designed for many different companies, everyone from Calvin Klein, Tommy Hilfiger, Ralph Lauren, the NBA, the NFL, Perry Ellis, and there's more. But those are the main ones that I designed for.
Did you always work as a fashion designer? You know, was that always your first job, or how did you get started after you finished Pratt?
Let's see, after I finished Pratt, I interviewed a lot. And there's maybe one or two jobs that aren't really even on my resume because I was there for a short period of time and they weren't really ideal for me. One company I was designing sweaters and it was more of a freelance position. And then another company, I think I was designing like women's tops or something. And again, that was freelance work. So my first full-time job was at Calvin Klein. And that's when I got my real start. It was about 6 months. Oh, you are? I love it.
Thank you. I
love it.
Thank you. So, so what are you doing now?
Yes, so I have my own company. I'm president of Stephanie and Company LLC.
Wow.
And yes, it's a fashion. Thank you very much. It's a fashion consulting firm. I basically started it while I was designing for all these other companies. And I found that, you know, I wanted to provide them extra services that sometimes we couldn't even get in-house. And I also continued just running that company all along, and now it's really thriving. So I provide fashion consulting services, whether it's image consulting, fashion show production. I blog as well, so I'm very happy about my blog with Family Dollar.
Family Dollar?
Yes, yes.
Because when I was looking at that, so, you know, I was looking at that, wow, Family Dollar too.
Thank you, yes, I'm so excited about it. I call it Style Yourself Like a Star with Stephanie. So it's basically,
name.
Thank you very much.
Don't you love it?
Great name.
It's all about the S's, you know. And it's really about feeling good about yourself, and that's what I try to infuse into almost everything I do. But when it comes to Family Dollar, they're doing so many great things right now. Back to school items are really, really exciting, and it's a way to show people. What I try to do through the blog is to show people that you can look like a star, you can feel fantastic, you can make yourself look as expensive as you want to be without having to break your budget. You know, why bother, you know, wasting a lot of money on maybe trends that are coming and going, but at Family Dollar you can, you know, spend very little and look like a lot. Yeah.
And look like a lot.
That's right.
I mean, didn't you just love that?
I do.
Oh
Thank
my
you.
goodness.
Another slogan to protect.
Yes, right?
It's
Exactly.
honest truth. So you've done, tell us a little bit about your career that you've had in teaching.
Thank you. Let's see, I've taught at several different universities, at the Art Institute of Miami, also Florida International University, and then University of District of Columbia is where I founded the fashion merchandising program there and ended up teaching a lot of the different courses that I developed for the program.
Wow.
And also, you were Mariessa was one of our adjunct professors.
Yes,
Exactly.
Oh, I totally enjoyed that experience.
Oh my goodness.
It was great.
So, as you know, Stephanie is moving forward. Any advice, you know, and thoughts?
Well, you know, she's well, her wealth of experiences it makes it, you know, this is where, you know, the rubber meets the road when it comes to intellectual property, because as you are meeting with other companies and discussing some of the ideas that you might have, trying to figure out how to retain some ownership of that, or even, you know, Stephanie as a blogger trying to figure out how would she protect, you know, her blog, because if she's writing for Family Dollar, perhaps they have some ownership in something that she has, but maybe not. You know, those kind of things have to be worked out in your contract as to what you own. I know that she also has a book that is right here.
Let's talk about this book
Right,
here.
right? So we know that when it comes to books, you know that of course the information, when it's put in a tangible format like this, it's copyrightable. But actually, you can also trademark the title if there's more than one book. You know, if there's a series, you know what I mean.
That's a good idea.
And then you know if you're blogging and you have your own personal blog, not working necessarily for a company, you can sometimes protect the look and feel of it. So like the banner, the name of it.
That's where I have a question too, if I can ask.
Things placed.
Yes, because my book is called Stephanie's Style Secrets: 7 Steps to Live and Dress Your Best. It's available on my website, stephaniegreen.com. In terms of the book, I've seen examples where, you know, I've seen other blogs where people have taken clips of the book or, you know, little small snippets of the book, and they'll kind of use some of my 7 style secrets, you know, and on the one hand, imitation is a, you know, most sincere form of flattery. On the other hand, they didn't get my permission to do that.
Right.
So that's something I'm curious about. The other thing is so I have my special blog with Family Dollar, and then other times there have been incidents where maybe I was blogging, you know, on my personal blog, and then it was featured on CNN, and I found that was also copied somewhere else. So, you know, it's hard, and I don't have a team of lawyers that, you know, we had at Tommy Hilfiger, who their full-time job is literally to kind of, you know, kind of scour the world and make sure that his property is protected. So
well, technically speaking, of course, whatever, you know, once you put it in your blog and you have it published, that it's copyrighted. Even if you don't register with a copyright, it's protected there.
Really?
The real deal, though, is you know, do you have the resources to race after these people?
Right.
Many times that can be very difficult. The first thing, of course, you want to do is make sure you register with the Copyright Office. That gives you some leverage.
Right.
That also, if you ever wanted to bring an infringement suit, you would need that first. But what's interesting about social media, which we heard from our previous guest, Christopher Foyle, who's talking about the power of social media. In this day and age where there's like the David versus the Goliath, right?
Yeah.
We're seeing that social media is really making a difference. So like, for example, there was an issue of a little boy who came up with this cool slogan called Stoked. And it was the baseball team, Oakland A's or something. I think that's the name of the team. Anyway, so he, the team started using the name on his shirts. And of course, he doesn't have any attorneys or anything, but what he did is he put on his little social media, look what's going on with me. Look at how these folks have taken my name. And so they kind of were shamed into like doing the right thing. We're seeing that that's actually really helping.
Especially if he has a big following.
Big following, and if he says it enough. Right. And so like if you're tagging them, whoever is the infringer, and getting inside of their family of followers, they don't typically want to be seen in that light.
That's a great point.
So that's a really good way of doing it. The other thing is that you make sure that you put up, as soon as you see it, you say, oh, look at what's going on here. You start communicating that because you're a celebrity, so wherever you go, you say, and I'm so happy that this so-and-so did it. And you'll see that kind of stuff will start to change.
Yeah, turn the tables.
If you ever wanted to bring a real suit, I mean, there are some resources. There are tons of volunteer lawyer associations. There's one here in Washington, Washington Area Lawyers for the Arts. I used to be president, now I'm on the board. You can contact them. They'll get a big firm to represent you for free if you meet the financial guidelines, and that's
wonderful.
Really helpful.
That's
really
huge.
helpful.
This is huge.
Isn't it though?
Isn't she a fantastic co-host?
That's good information, right?
Oh my goodness.
That's good information.
Stephanie, I had to thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Marissa, thank you for
Always
co-hosting.
happy to see you, Miss Ingrid.
I'm telling you, I'd like to thank our guests for a great show, and of course Marissa for serving as the creator and co-host of this episode of Ingrid's World. It was fun, and please, let's do it again.
Let's do it.
I'd love to.
Thank you for watching Ingrid's World, and don't forget to find us on Facebook for instant Ingrid World news, or see us on ingridsworld.org. Thanks for watching. It's cool like that. This episode of Ingrid's World is underwritten by FashionTrademarks.BIZ, a boutique intellectual property law firm located in Washington, D.C. Since 2002, Fashion Trademarkers have provided trademark, copyright, patent, and contract services to a variety of fashion and beauty companies throughout the U.S. and Europe. It's a saturated marketplace, and we protect fashion for less, trademarks, copyrights, patents, and contracts.